to incur all these costs with government administrators across the country who could have easily supervised this on a county-to-county basis. But it is time now to look at the top stories on our local dailies today. And right before we do that, we shall be getting some comments from some of our guests who have already arrived. Remember, later on, like we said, we shall be having this discussion, poverty and pregnant teens. Like I had indicated, this from Ruth Sarmoi's story that aired on Sunday that showed a particular school in Bungoma County that had 50 girls who were pregnant in 1 year. I speak about from January to June of 2023. And the whole county of Bungoma having in excess of 9,000 pregnant cases. And how did we get here? What is the solution out? Because matters teen pregnancy and matters children are exposed to early sexual activities are things that the country and the society has been speaking about, but today we shall be putting it to context. Some of our guests already in. I have Nancy Okoth, the project manager, Plan International. Nancy, good morning and welcome to Nation Center.
Morning.
Karibu sana. We also have Joyce Gadeu, programs officer, Community Implementing Initiative. Joyce, good morning.
Good morning too.
Well, pleasure to see you.
Pleasure to see you.
We shall be getting into the topic of discussion in a few. But right now, let's start with some of the top stories. And we start with the number one daily in the country. This is the Daily Nation. And the headline on the Daily Nation is what was also our first story here. That fuel saga from the ports. And it says, controversy, Galana Energies Limited says consignment was to meet country's requirements. This is forgery claim in the 17 billion shilling fuel saga. Just to give you the kick on it, ports chiefs disown documents presented by businesswoman Anne Njoroge as fake and intended to steal a consignment of diesel whose ownership has been in dispute. The cargo was offloaded in contravention of a court order, even as the trader's whereabouts remain unknown. And her lawyers sue police bosses over arrest. That story is on page 10. A story that, of course, we shall be following up in the next couple of days. Remember, it started with a businesswoman claiming that this is her fuel, and her lawyer, Cliff Ombeta, even saying that the lady is now has disappeared. They have actually told the court to, that she should be brought dead or alive. But the Ports Authority now says that, look, Anne Njoroge is not the owner of the fuel that is at the port. In fact, that the fuel belongs to a different company. So that story is on the top page of the Daily Nation. It is also the top story on the Standard. Yes, it is also the top story on the Standard. Intrigues behind the 17 billion shillings mystery petrol deepen. So that particular mystery deepens. Who owns what? The Standard asks. And Kenya Ports Authority has said the oil cargo belongs to Aramco and not Anne Njeri, who is still missing. KPA claims it had no dealings with Njeri's company. So, like I said, a very interesting story that we, even here in the press, shall be having our eyes on in the next couple of days to just know what exactly is happening. The CS for energy, Davis Chirchir, also spoke about this and said that they will sort it out in court. You saw that when he spoke during the tree planting event yesterday. Still another story on the Daily Nation. This is a pair of top lawyers jostle for upcoming JSC vacancy. This is about the LSK representative to the Judicial Service Commission, and some of the top lawyers are already angling for that particular position. The election is about 60 days away, but already everyone who wants to represent the Law Society of Kenya in the Judicial Service Commission is trying to find favor and support from the players there. So also another thing to look at. And remember, this election will happen in just a few days before the LSK election in itself. So a lot of changes that we are likely to see at the Judicial Service Commission as well as the Law Society of Kenya. And I understand that amongst the people seeking to be the representative of the Law Society of Kenya in the Judicial Service Commission is the current LSK President, Eric Theuri. So we shall be seeing how that goes later on. Still on the Standard, and this story, I would want to get the comment of Nancy and Joyce here. Heroic, there is that story on page 3 of the Nation, but on the front page, it is as a path. Woman swims across flooded Tana River to deliver son in hospital. And it says, Mohammed Bilal is 4 days old today. When he grows older and is able to understand an intriguing tale of his birth awaits him. This is about a story of a woman who really wanted to get to hospital, and it was really dangerous to cross the river, and most people, even most women, discouraged the mother, but the mother plunged in and said, you know what, I have to save my unborn baby. Right now, the baby, 4 days old. Nancy, what do you make out of this story?
Actually, for me, first, I will talk about bravery of the lady. He was very brave, and I'm very sad that at this particular moment in Kenya, in this century, we are still not able to access the roads. We are still not able to access facilities, because when you talk about flooding or even El Nino, there was an alert, and there was already need to have the facilities or any other measures in place, knowing very well that the places always flood. And what if we have people that may want to access health services? Because yes, this woman was able to cross over. What of somebody who has fainted and you have to carry the person and go over? It's so sad, and I think this one should go to our leaders so that they're able to look into this and just see how are we able to access the health facilities. Whether it floods, whether it is what is happening, the access should be made available.
The access should be made available. And I completely agree with you, because at this day and time, especially with us claiming that devolution is working, and the country having pumped in a lot of money to devolved units to especially make healthcare work, this is quite concerning. Joyce, when you see such a story, yes, there is the bravery part that Nancy is speaking about, but there is also the failure by the government, as she has also mentioned. This is not rare. This is not just happening in Tana River. I'm sure there are other counties that are going through this. It's just not highlighted. And there are other women who are not delivering in hospitals because they can't access other facilities. What would be your first, your mind on such a situation in the country at this day and age, rather?
Okay, for me, it's so sad story for this woman. And she's so brave, first of all. For me, what I could say, it's just to ask for more facility to be near the health center. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And of course, we keep looking at some of the other stories. There is also the tree planting exercise, which was the major thing yesterday. The country was given a public holiday for the National Tree Planting Day. And that particular picture on the front page shows President William Ruto planting a tree. This green future, Ruto sets Kenya on path to 15 billion trees target by 2032. Stories and pictures on that particular day are on pages 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the Daily Nation, where President William Ruto gets his hands dirty as he led Kenyans in a national tree planting drive yesterday in Kiu Wetland in Makueni County. Millions of trees were planted countrywide, even as the state plans to use learners to reach ambitious 15 billion trees by 2032. We shall be getting to that to also know whether my guests planted trees yesterday, and of course the difference that everyone is speaking about, tree planting and tree growing. But before we get to that, let's see what Taifa Leo has today on the front page. The headline on Taifa Leo says, Haki Kenya Sihami. Wakenya wabuni vichekesho vya kila aina walipoadhimisha sikukuu ya kitaifa kupanda miti iliyofanyika jana. Kenyans in their usual self, of course, creating memes and all this out of tree planting. Vituko wasahau masaibu yanayowakumba kutokana na gharama ya juu ya maisha na kuzama mitandaoni kwa ucheshi. You may need to see what they were saying on Taifa Leo, but just to give you some of what it is that Kenyans were saying yesterday, very, very briefly. Maoni ya Wakenya kuhusu sikukuu ya kupanda miti. There is a picture. If only we could sort of zoom this in. Let's see how that goes. Yes, this should be the top right corner of your screen. Yes, there is someone here, literally, akipanda miti. So this is on Taifa Leo. Unaenda kupanda miti, unashikwa. This was very interesting, but of course, this person was arrested holding or in possession of an illegal substance. Actually, this is marijuana. So, unaenda kupanda miti, unashikwa. Kenyans choosing to use that as a way to create fun during the national tree planting exercise. Nakumbuka siku moja akisema mvua hutoka mbinguni, si kwa miti. This again is a statement that President William Ruto once said, and now Kenyans, of course, bringing it back now that the president chose to have the tree planting exercise and even giving the country a national holiday to effect this exercise. Then you use a chopper to plant 1 or 2 trees, take a photo and get back to Nairobi. Total wastage of public resources. That, of course, again, also, as had been told by Sydney Chazima. Let's look at the last two. Siwezi panda hata nusu miti enye mlikata kwa shamba ya Mama Ngina ilionyesha tunafanya kazi bure. Of course, again, a political turn to it. Again, the last one, miti tulipanda kitambo na ikamea. Lots of comments from Kenyans on tree planting that is on Taifa Leo. Another story on Taifa Leo again. Mamelodi Sundowns mabingwa miamba hao wa Afrika Kusini wagonga Casablanca katika finali. This is about the football that just happened over the weekend rather. And Raila amtaka Ruto arejeshe kazi mtaani. Asema hiyo ndiyo njia ya haraka ya kuokoa uchumi unaoyumba. Remember, when the President William Ruto came in, the first thing he did was to get rid of what we had by retired President Uhuru Kenyatta on Kazi Mtaani, and he said that instead the housing project and other projects that the government had initiated would offer employment opportunities, in direct employment, also indirect employment opportunities to our youth. So now opposition leader Raila Odinga calling for the return of Kazi Mtaani. And on the path, wafanyakazi wa J Finlays wazimwa, koti ya Uingereza yarejeshea Kenya kesi kuhusu fidia kwa majeruhi. Yeah, that is from the Finlays company, the tea company in Kericho, and the case that they had presented in courts in the United Kingdom. So it is sent back to sender. And mafuta ya bilioni 17, mawakili wa mshtaki mkurugenzi mkuu wa DCI kwa kutoweka kwa mfanyabiashara anayehusishwa na uagizaji mafuta. We have already looked at that story. And finally, pigo kuu kwa Harambee, this being that 5 players from Harambee Stars will not be appearing for the team. Kati ya tegemeo wanaotarajiwa kukosa mechi dhidi ya Gabon na Ushelisheli ni beki mahiri Joseph Okumu, and several other players, like I said, a total of 5 that were said and are doubtful about the 2 matches. Let's look at the Business Daily. On the Business Daily, Kenya's loans 60% more expensive than Tanzania and Rwanda. And in the past couple of days, there has been lots of comparison between the regional countries on which country and how it is doing economically. So the Business Daily breaks down how Kenya's loans are more expensive than our neighbors, Tanzania and Rwanda. That is a very detailed story. It shows that the Kenya shilling against regional currencies, it breaks down the Kenya shillings against the Ugandan shilling, against the Tanzanian shilling, as well as the Rwandan currency. So the Kenya shilling to Ugandan shilling, the Kenya shilling depreciated the most by 16.45% this year. As compared to the Tanzanian shilling, it depreciated by 12.26%. And as compared to the Rwandan currency, it has depreciated by 6.68%. You may want to read that story on the Business Daily. Duty-free goods cost KRA 30 billion foregone tax. Also another story by Dominic Omondi, the importation of duty-free agricultural products deny the government close to 30 billion in taxes, reflecting the high cost of cushioning Kenyans against the steep consumer prices. On the ticker, IMF deal behind Ruto's forest cover. As a nationwide tree planting got underway yesterday, President William Ruto was holed up in a meeting at State House with an International Monetary Fund mission led by Haimanot Tefera, who was accompanied by its resident representative Selim Shakir. Those are stories about the tree planting and what might have led to that push by the government to have even a national holiday for tree planting. So now it is said on the Business Daily that the International Monetary Fund is behind that particular activity. Be sure to get a copy of the Business Daily and read that story on page 3 of the Business Daily. Last but not least, is it? Let's look at the Standard. We already had looked at the top story, but there is a very interesting story on the Standard about the late Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor George Magoha. And it says, Magoha's 250 million shilling in life, but 150 million shillings in death. Widow of the late minister has told the court that her husband was worth 100 million less than he had declared in Parliament during his vetting. And this brings to the fore the conversation. The conversation about when cabinet secretaries and other state officers declare their wealth before Parliament. And most are said that they usually, and this was a discussion that even happened during the vetting of the current cabinet secretary, that some might have overquoted their worth, or others are found to be way wealthier than what they had declared initially, pointing out to corruption and such. But perhaps to show that Professor George Magoha was one, as has been written by the Standard, that Professor George Magoha was one not interested in public funds. And just to quote him during his vetting, he said, "You have choices." This is a direct quote from Professor George Magoha during his vetting. "You have choices. If you put your hand in the tin, the law is there. Everybody has a choice. If the government has given money and the money is to be used again, I come from an area near Luanda where maize prices vary. For example, between 1,500 a bag to 4,000. In my kind of management, I will not believe that you bought it at 4,000 if you are a good leader. Why didn't you wait until it is 1,500? That was a question posed by Magoha earlier, during the late Magoha rather, during his vetting. And right now, as his wife was declared the administrator of his estate, or is seeking to be declared the administrator of his estate, the Standard writes that a review of the former urologist's wealth declaration in Parliament, along with succession documents, revealed exclusively to understand that story. So the final comment that I'll be getting from my guests is on tree planting. Nancy and Joyce, even as we still expect Anne Ndungu, the chairperson, Giving Hope organization. Yesterday was a national day for tree planting. Did you guys participate in this? Let's start with you, Joyce.
Yeah, I participated at Eastleigh Airport Primary School. We planted 50 trees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nancy?
I didn't participate because of my location yesterday, but I did ensure that back at home there was tree planting, and it did happen. Yes.
How many trees?
We did 20 trees. That is the home because of the space. So that is what we were able to do.
And there's a very interesting conversation that is coming out between tree planting and tree growing. That most of us are putting a lot of focus on planting trees, that particular activity that we did yesterday, but there is the nurturing of these trees, tree growing. I don't know, from the trees that you planted, what plans you have to ensure that they are nurtured to actual growth, Joyce?
Okay, for us, there was some youth group who volunteered to water the plants for 2 months and seeing the process of how the tree will be growing. Yeah, we have those volunteers who have already volunteered for watering and seeing how is the plant doing. Yeah.
Nancy, what is the follow-up plan for the trees that you ensured were planted?
Basically, because these are at home, it is in our duty just to ensure that they are tended most of the time, because they are in the compound, so they're tended, they are looked after. So we'll always be looking after them, and I'll also be part of the monitoring team of just ensuring that they are grown, they are tended, and they are taken care of. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. And at this particular time, let's get to our discussion. 2 guests already in studio. I can see the 3rd guest walking in. That is Anne Ndungu. But let me do that introduction again of the 2 who have arrived. Nancy Okoth, Project Manager, Plan International. We also have Joyce Gadeu, Program Officer, Community Implementing Initiative. And at this particular minute, walking in is Anne Ndungu, Chairperson, Giving Hope Organization. We shall be getting to that discussion, but first things, let's take a short break as I'm being directed by Jackso Black Jack, the director behind the scenes. Then we shall be getting into the conversation once you're back.
Affordable housing in this market has been defined differently depending on whom you're speaking to.
We define affordable housing as units of houses that can be afforded by our membership. Affordability here we look at in terms of the pricing, the payment model. So we make sure that they are flexible payment model.
Tell us about Steamer Heights.
This is a 20-story building. is composed of one bedroom and studio. We also have studied our market, analyzed our market as well, and the needs of our investors as well. And we do have quite a number of other projects also coming up on board as well. We are also now looking at how also we can position ourselves and offer a variety of, affordable housing to our market.
Reach your audience instantly and make a lasting impression with Nation Sema. Affordable SMS at 0.3 Kenya shillings. Own sender ID for 10,000 Kenya shillings plus 10,000 free SMS. To sign up, please call 0790 111 111 or email us on nationsema@ke.nationmedia.com. Africa's Agenda 2063 envisions bold aspirations for the continent, underpinned by inclusive growth and development, seamless integrated trade and commerce, and competitiveness, which elevates the continent's standing on the global stage. With a large youthful population, 12% of the world's oil reserves, 42% of the world's gold reserves, and 60% of the world's arable land, Africa holds vast potential to drive global growth and development in an environment increasingly defined by emerging risks. To strengthen the continent's resilience and chart the way forward in the delivery of the ambitious promise of Agenda 2063, Africans need to engage in candid conversations on the opportunities, challenges, and risks that lie ahead. This is why the 5th edition of the Kusi Ideas Festival places the spotlight on the continent's Agenda 2063, shedding light on how to unlock the continent's vast opportunity through trade, enterprise, culture, and transformation. Between the 6th and 9th of December, delegates from across the globe converge in Gaborone, Botswana, for an in-depth agenda-setting discussion on Agenda 2063, making the dream come true during the 5th edition of the annual Kusi Ideas Festival. Register today on www.kusiideasfestival.com to book your slot. Discover a future of inclusivity at the inaugural Pensions and Conference 2023, KICC Nairobi, November 28th to 29th, 2023. Theme is Enhancing Social Protection and Inclusive Growth. Engage in exclusive exhibitions, personalized sessions, and extensive brand exposure, fostering meaningful connections. To secure your place, contact William at 0728 550 319. Be part of transforming our future into one that embraces social security and inclusivity, shaping a society where everyone thrives. Protect future yako.
Hodi. Habari yako mama. Wewe weka pesa zako wapi?
Mimi huweka pesa zangu kwa hii mkebe.
Mama, sidhani hiyo mkebe iko safe. Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation lina jukumu la kulinda pesa zako kwenye benki.
All right, you're watching M Live here on NTV with me, Ibrahim Karanja, and right now we get into our topic of discussion, and this discussion is informed by that story by Ruth Sarmoei on Sunday that aired here on NTV, the story Poverty and Pregnant Teen, that was really highlighting about the situation in the country, and especially in a particular school in Bungoma. The school in question is St. Thomas Aquinas Jesikaki, in which 50 girls got pregnant, was reported to have been pregnant between January and June of 2023. Quite concerning. And this is in Mount Elgon in Bungoma. The county of Bungoma in itself having in excess of 9,000 pregnancies in that same period, while the country is said to have had in excess of 120,000 pregnancies teen pregnancies in that particular period. Quite a concern for the country and any right-thinking mind. Yes, whereas some girls are getting back to school, others are really having their lives wasted or halted by these activities. And you know what's worse is that the people responsible are still walking scot-free, nothing being done to them. And this we shall be discussing here in the show. Again, I introduce my guests, and one who has just arrived right now, Anne Dongo, the chairperson Giving Hope Organization. Anne, good morning and welcome to Nation Center.
Good morning, April. Thank you.
Have you been
so
here
much.
before?
No, this is my first time to be here.
All right, and I'll start with you, Anne. Like I said earlier, I also have Nancy Okoth and Joyce Gadheu here in studio. But you watched that story on Sunday by Ruth Sarmoi on poverty and pregnant teen. Your quick reaction from just looking at the story?
I would say this is a menace that we are having as a nation of Kenya concerning the teen's pregnancy. It is something that has been happening, and it is so unfortunate that this is happening at this time, at this age, where we ought to be doing things differently. But unfortunately, the people who are supposed to be responsible, taking care of our girls or our children outside there, it is opposite. That is not what is happening. Both as the people, as the parent, and as the nation, we have really failed, and even as the community. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Joyce, this failure by the society or by the community, where does it start? Because many would say we started at a point where, and this is my own understanding, initially a child used to belong to the community. Right now, Ibrahim Karanja's daughter is Ibrahim Karanja's daughter. In fact, you touch her, I take you to the cops, or I deal with you. Is that the point at which we started losing to now seeing cases such as the one we are seeing at St. Thomas Aquinas?
Okay, for me, we started losing when from our parents, neighbors, you see, like for now, if you see your child doing bad, neighbor can't correct her, first of all. If maybe she will beat her, you will take her to court. So the neighbor will say you're a friend, it's her own problem. Even when she will see her going into dark, she'll not say anything. So at the end of the day, we are the one who are going to lose. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're the ones who are going to lose. Nancy, where did the rain start beating us? Because I'm sure you have watched the story. You have seen what Ruth Sarmoi brought out. Poverty said to be the reason as to why most girls are getting into pregnancy. In fact, some are saying, and this is to quote verbatim from the story, that they hope to get pregnant because it sort of suspends monthly periods for them because they don't have money to buy sanitary towels, which should be essential. What is your quick takeaway from the story?
My quick takeaway from this story, and if you don't mind, I will just take you back, because what we are talking about is not what Kenyans or what we do not know as a nation. Last year, there was a story about Kenya being ranked the third in the wild in terms of teenage pregnancies. Inside that, it was about that between 15 to 19-year-old girls, 1 out of 5 girls in those between 15 and 19-year-old are either having a child and also either having a child or are pregnant. But again, what did we do? Nobody cares. Yes, poverty is there. They talk about issues. Period poverty. Period poverty is something that is there because the parents are already overwhelmed. The parents are not. The economic level is very low. Mm-hmm. So these parents, what do? They also, because if you have your 200 shillings, surely if it is about priority, what will you prioritize? Will you prioritize buying a sanitary towel, or will you prioritize buying meals for the children? Girls are now exposed to what we call the transactional sex, because the parents are also looking for what do they convert into income, what do they convert into money, because they are also overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. So this is coupled with issues poverty, and then also I will talk about issues policies that are there and are not being implemented.
Policies that are there but are not being implemented. But let's first head back to the story. And it really is sad that it has to take the media to come out and highlight such a case in one particular school. And I'm assuming this being Bungoma County, it's not one of the most interior counties that we know in the country. And we're reporting over 9,000 cases in Bungoma, only reported by the media. In fact, education officials, government officers are sort of denying this number. So Are we really being honest in dealing with this particular vice? Nancy?
Oh, we are not very honest. Number one, you've talked about even the perpetrators, or rather the people who impregnated the girls walking scot-free. Number one, we've normalized pregnancies, and we've put it to be on the burden more on the girl. For example, we say, huyu alikuwa amejua mingi sana. That is why she's pregnant, so we really do not care. I know very well it is this man who has been defiling this girl, and I do not report and I do not say anything. When it comes to statistics, it is about reporting. Are we really reporting? How many of these girls are accessing the health cares? Because that is where we need to get reports. And at the same time, who forward the reports? Because if these girls are still in school, if they are underage, it means these are all defilement cases. And are we having these defilement cases reported? So what is there is we do not have these reports that are validated. So the county directors, or rather the education officials, can easily dismiss this, and we can easily say that it is not there, but in reality it is not there. The only thing is the people are not reporting, or they're not so much aware of the referral pathway. But I really put this into what we call the social norms, especially when it comes to areas like Bungoma. Our social norms devalue the girls and do not prioritize education of the girls. So with this, we are having most of these girls that are sold off for marriage. Most of these girls, when they're easily taken off, especially when they're pregnant, or when they're girls that have reached puberty stage, they're easily seen as women, and then anybody can always defile them and can always be made pregnant at any time, and nobody really cares. Yes.
And nobody really cares. And before I come to you, Joyce and Anne, there is an up sound that Jackson would be playing for us, so that we get to understand the situation of what we are discussing. And this is picked, or is an excerpt from that story by Ruth Sarmoi, Poverty and Pregnant Teens. And Jackson, if we are ready to listen to that particular sound.
The young people, they don't want the name family planning. They told us they don't have families to plan. And so the name that we use is contraceptive use. And there are policies and guidelines. We give the necessary information, especially for the very young ones, the 10 to 14. Abstinence is the key. But you give them the information, but it is a health right. They have the right to choose. There are some that will tell you, sister, I hear you, but I say I want a method. There are others, you tell them, then they realize, oh, so I don't need it, I just wanted it because of my friend. As in, there is that peer pressure.
Well, the reason I said, or I asked that we have that particular bite played, is because I want to introduce the elephant in the room. The story by Ruth Sarmoi has already told us the situation we are in. We can no longer bury our heads in the sand and say that our children are not practicing unsafe sex, that our children are not practicing in activities that they should not be practicing at this particular age. But there has been a conversation about introducing family planning and contraceptives to our children. Listening to that particular up sound, when you, apparently lack of knowledge, when you tell a child you need, there is something called family planning, they say we don't have any families to plan. This has been discussed in Parliament. Some members of Parliament have tried to push it. Do you think it is what we need to introduce right now? Or will that again be an acceptance that we have failed as a society? And
you see, one problem we are having, it's as a nation, we know what is eating us and what is eating us. But we keep on postponing, we keep on daring here and there, which is so wrong, because at this time, we ought to have introduced the topic and we ought to have discussed about the comprehensive sex education. Not really in the manner that is really coming out, but I believe it is always best to look at which angle are we going to do it, because we cannot keep on learning away from it. This is affecting our girls and it is affecting our future. And it is happening all over in all our 47 counties. You would look at it and see that we're talking only about Bungoma, but even here in Nairobi, it is really happening. It has, personally at my own personal level, it has pushed me to run a campaign of raising sanitary towel. Because like you have said, that it is because of lack of sanitary towel, that is why we have 50 girls getting pregnant in Bungoma County. And I'm telling you, this is real. I visited a school, which it is the case that pushed me to raise 1 million sanitary towel campaign. And it is within Nairobi County, where girls are using blanket, old pieces of blanket and within Nairobi.
The capital.
The capital. And this is really when we were called in, I went and I saw that this is true, it is happening. Our members of parliament who ought to be, making the rules and making sure that they are being introduced, they are ignoring it. And maybe even us as the society, we are failing, even as the religious leaders, we keep on pushing and saying that no, the sex education should not be introduced into the schools or into our children. But it's a higher time. I don't remember the last time, personally as Anna, my mom taught me and told me, you know what, when you get into this age, this and this happen. So, and sex between the teens is happening. And no one is talking about it. We want to run away from the truth, from the fact. But the question is, until when? Because as much as we're going to continue postponing, this menace is going to continue. So it is a higher time, I would say, that we talk about it and we introduce it to our children in an angle that at least it is not going to allow them, to give them the permission, to start having sex. But it's good to tell them, when you get to the puberty stage, this and this is what will happen. On my time, during when I was in school, I remember as Anne, my mom didn't even tell me that at this age, you will receive your menstrual cycle, it will be like this and this. And it has continued to date. And that is why you see that even we are losing children, or we are losing our kids in school just because they have been stigmatized, because they were not prepared even on how to have their menstrual cycle. And
allow me to cut you short, because you're raising a very important issue here, that during your time, your mom did not tell you, or your parent, because I believe right now it is the responsibility of birth parents to openly speak about these things. Your parent did not tell you that at a particular age you'll experience your monthly or your menstrual cycle.
Yes.
And right now you're speaking about many years down the line that we are still shying away. I would think that we have a bit of woke parents, exposed parents who would talk about this. Then what do you attribute the fact that even right now in 2023, parents are not speaking to their children about such biological issues?
I think it is the norm that we have as, let me say, as Africans, not only as Kenyans. Introducing sex or issues that has to do with sex to your children, kind of weird in a way. And we have been running away. Even I, as Anne, as a mother, I'm running away from it. I think it is not the right thing to tell my child, you know what, you can do this. But Ibra, it is good to know that we have internet. And everyone else, including these kids, they're watching these things somehow, in one way or another. Yes, in my house, I'll keep it away from my child. But I am not responsible when that child go outside there. So in one way or another, they're exposed. So when you know that your child is exposed to something, what do? You prepare them. You tell them, if these get into this, you know what to do. But we're not doing that, even at this time, because you don't want maybe to see your child like mama is telling me or dad is telling me these kind of things. And the reason more why we have many raped cases of very young teenage and very young girls. Why? Because we didn't introduce what we ought to have introduced.
And let me come to you, Joyce. And you work with teens, especially in Mathare, here in Nairobi. And Anna has taken us from the villages of Bungoma and brought us to the city, to the capital, and told us that this is actually happening. And perhaps let's speak in a language that the people of Mathare would understand. Wakati ambapo tunasema kwamba we have children, watoto ambao are engaging in sex, lakini their parents are not telling them. How watu wa Mathare, what paint for us a picture of what you have seen, what you have come across as the worst case scenario in Mathare?
Okay, for me, the worst scenario I have seen, I have been having this girl. Let me speak in Kiswahili.
Okay.
So msichana alikuja kwangu, nilikuwa kwa community nikiongea, na wasichana. Akaniambia mambo poa nini, so we interact with them with more activities. So aka open up kwangu. Alikuwa 17 years old. Akaniambia nataka family planning. First of all, as CII, before msichana umpeleke process ya kuchukua family planning, lazima ikuwe concept na mzazi. The time tulienda kwa mzazi, nikajiintroduce, mimi nafanya hivi, mimi ni project officer. The mother said, mtoto wangu hajui sex. So mama alienda kunirebuke. Wewe ndio unafunza mtoto wangu sex nini, akanitukana. For me, sikufeel vibaya, but nilichukua jukumu nikaambia mama, ni sawa basi. It happened, after nilitoka hapo, huyu msichana alikuja kwa ofisi yetu. Akaniambia, Joyce, I have 2 boyfriends. One is for Nduthi and other one, those one who selling chang'aa there. So, when you see this girl, ako kwa risk ya kupata mimba. Ako kwa risk ya kupata ukimwi. Ako kwa risk kubwa ya kupata STIs. But unapata shida yetu, wale wazazi wa ghetto, wewe unaona mtoto wako personal ako sawa. But akitoka nje, vile mwenzangu amesema wewe mzazi haupati ile time ya kuongelesha mtoto wako. Umkalishe chini mwambie msichana wangu, ukifika hapa, this is 1, 2, 3. Hivi ndio kunaendanga. So unapata at a point tukiraise hizi sanitary towels, unapata wasichana bedhe wanakata blanket, hata shati zao zile ndogo wanavaa huku chini. So msichana kitu ya kwanza anaogopa kuambia mama yake. Anashangaa, nitaanzia aje kuambia mama? Labda nikiambia mama atanichapa. Juu ya ile openness, hawana yani hiyo urafiki. But you find kama sisi community implementing initiative, we have those program. Tunaita wasichana, tunadeal na wasichana kutoka 15 to 24 years. Tunaambia msichana, hii kitu tunaona ni normal. Na vile unafai kufanya ni hivi na hivi. Na usiogope kuambia nani? Mama yako. So unapata at a time mzazi, as she said, mzazi ataangalia ni sanitary towel atabayo mtoto ama ni chakula. So unapata mtoto hata inafika mahali labda ni siku za shule, aendi shule. Juu anasikia aibu, ana sanitary towel ya kuvaa, anaona akienda shule inaweza toka bahati mbaya, marafiki zake hapo ile stigma ya fulani yako hivi na hivi na hivi. Yeah.
Na wakati unasema hivyo, because raise a very interesting point, umeleta point kwamba si ujauzito peke yake ambao hasa wanapata, and tunaonekana kuripoti peke yake kuhusu ujauzito. Kwa story ya Ruth tumezungumza kuhusu zaidi ya wanafunzi 9,000 ambao walipata ujauzito Bungoma, ama zaidi ya wanafunzi 100,000 ambao walipata ujauzito kwa taifa la Kenya chini ya mwaka mmoja. Lakini hatuzungumzii kuhusu STIs na HIV. Wakati ambapo unasema msichana mmoja anakwambia ana boyfriends wawili, mmoja wa pikipiki, mwingine wa kuuza chang'aa. Ni stories ambazo pia jana nilikuwa nazungumza na my colleague Jesse Chenge ambaye walisaidiana na Ruth kufanya hii story. And one particular man or boy in a school anapatikana kwamba amekuwa na wasichana wengi sana. At what point ndio tunaanza kuzungumza kuhusu STIs and the other risks, the infections ambazo hawa watoto wetu wanapitia?
Okay, so kwa hii community yetu ya Mathare kuna hii transaction sex. Mimi sijui status zangu na wewe hujui status zangu. Tumetoka kutoka poverty, mzazi anafungiwa nyumba, tunalala njaa. So mimi naenda nakutana na kijana. Tunafanya transactional sex. Ananipea 500 shillings. Mimi sijui status ya huyu kijana, sijui alikuwa mgonjwa nini. Don't forget, I have my own boyfriend. So mimi naenda kulala na boyfriend yangu at a point. At the same time, ile ugonjwa kijana alinipea before nigundue, itakuwa pia imepata nani? Huyu. Then unapata like our boyfriends, it's not one person. Unapata the boyfriend akona more than 3 girls. So it's going to be a like chain. It's going to grow. At the end of the day, you will find like even in society, the number, it will be big.
It will be big.
Yeah.
Nancy, allow me to say this. This is your story. You have gone through this story. In fact, you have spoken about this, your own account, as we plan to get back to our main topic. You fell pregnant, did not know you were pregnant until you're 5 months pregnant. Tell us, when was this and how did you go about it?
Okay, yeah, that is way back. I have a lived experience as a teen mom. Yes, I was pregnant. That is, I got my first child at the age of 13 years, 8 months. And I did not know I was pregnant because, one, as they have said, then there was no issues of comprehensive sex or your parent telling you that at this particular time, when you start menstruating, the only thing we were told is if you play with boys, you will get pregnant. That was the information that we were having. But nobody ever delved into terms of telling you that this is what is going to happen. So I became pregnant. I didn't know I was pregnant. At 5 months is my mother who told me, you are pregnant. So I was like, how? I had only had sex once and I had not had my periods because in my mind, I knew that only a girl will only get pregnant when they have started their periods.
So by this particular time, you have not experienced
Yes,
a single monthly period by the time you're getting pregnant?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so it was at 5 months and that is when I realized I was pregnant.
So in your head, you're not even ready for this?
Actually, I was even questioning, is it true? Is my mother lying that I was pregnant? So the moment I was told I was pregnant is when I started realizing some changes. You look at yourself and then you realize, hey, I think I am pregnant. And because of lack of information, you start looking for how to abort. You don't even know because the only thing you hear from people, if you take a concentrated tea leaves, you'll be able to get, the child will be able to come out. Yeah. You start looking for some children to step on your stomach so that the child may come out. But the child did not come out, and I tell everyone that I did not have much experience being pregnant with the pregnancy because the pregnancy was only there for 3.5 months, according to me, and then I was giving birth. So I did not have this time. But again, even after getting pregnant, because yes, I was lucky enough to go back to school. And when I was going back to school, my mother told me 2 things. I'm taking you back to school. If you want to give birth, go and give birth. If you want to go and learn, go and learn. Still going back to school with no information. Because I see a number of girls and young women getting pregnant, and before they know it, they're pregnant again with their second children. They're 18 years, they're 17 years, and they're having 2 or 3 children because of lack of information. And I want just to connect on what my colleagues or my panelists, part of panelists have talked about in terms of comprehensive sex and in terms of how we are speaking to our children, because we have a lot of sectors that are fighting this. People who feel if we talk about comprehensive sex, we are telling children or young people on how to have sex. I know you also remember that Kenya withdrew from this ministerial commitment, the Southern and African ministerial commitment that was on reducing the teenage pregnancy, so, and HIV/AIDS. So with that, the parents also do not have any guideline. I have my own manual to tell my children. You have your own manual. So the issues that we are telling children are a bit there is some discrepancies on how we are telling these children to deal with issue sex. But again, if we do not start, we will still be able to expose our children to defilement. Because when you start about comprehensive sex, this is when you are going to tell them about your private parts. You tell them about this is what you need to do. If we do not start it at home and wait for someone else to tell them, including the internet, we shall have lost our children. So as a teen mom, for me, I think I'm able to speak about it to my own children because it is something I know and I live to it, because I look at my 13-year-old girl and I mirror myself with her and I know it can happen at any time.
And which particular demographic or which particular area is your target? When you say you are seeking to raise 1 million sanitary towels for girls, I would be interested to know, where are you targeting, and have this, or has a section of this particular girls told you that they are even willing to go to, the extent of doing or practicing transactional sex so that they get sanitary towels?
When I'm talking about 1 million sanitary towel campaign, Initially, this is a countrywide campaign, but you have to start somewhere. So I said I'm doing a Nairobi chapter. That is where I am starting. And I am not doing this from an ignorance point, because it is something I visited even the county education director, who really gave me a list of what is happening on the ground. And specifically, I visited, and I know there is a way we can do this. I can take you on the ground and you listen to these students without exposing them, telling you directly, personally, Mama, I have been doing this. I've been doing transaction sex, and I'm not doing because I want. My mom is a Changa person. My dad is a Changa person. So when I go in the house, I don't have sanitary towel. You know, my menstrual cycle has come. It's here with me. And you get that between 1 month, within 30 days, you get that girls are missing schools between 3 to 5 days per month. You can calculate that in a year, you'll get like almost a full year, a girl is not in school.
For 2 months. Yeah.
That is for because every month, we have between 3 to 5.
3 to 5 days, if you go with a maximum of 5 for a whole year, that is 60 days.
For a whole year, yes. So you get that, honestly speaking, for 2 months, this girl has not gone to school. And so it is very important, as Anne and as a person who is doing the community work on the ground, I said then I have to be responsible. Because when a girl come to you, a whole school, it's a case that, forgive me, but I'll have to speak about it today because we are here, an opportunity has come. This was a case of a blockage of a sewer line from where I have an office. And so within that time we were called, and the neighboring neighbor is a school. So we were like, what is happening? Every now and then we're having a sewer blockade system. So we tried to unblock it. It didn't work. So we had to call for the Nairobi support, sewer line system support. So when they came, it was mind-blowing.
What was it?
My goodness. Some pieces of mattresses, old mattresses, tissues, old pieces of clothes blocking the sewer line. And we were like, it was smelling very pathetic. So even the men that were near, they ran away. And we were only left with a team from the Nairobi sewer, looking at what is happening. Then we had to tell each other, no, let's see what is happening. So we went into the rooms of the toilets of the girls, just to look in the bins. It is where we realized, Lily, this is happening. I'm telling you, since that day, I've never slept about this campaign. Within a week, I had introduced it and said that I'm going to start. But I had to go now and do a total thorough research. And I went and visited the county director of education. I asked him, give me the data, tell me. I adopted at least 6 schools for about 3 constituency. That is why we are doing the phase 1 in Nairobi County. At least trying to tell people, hey, you need to wake up. Something is wrong, something is happening. Because Ibra, in Kenya, about 65% of Kenyans, they are living with a means of rest and $1 every day. So my question is, as a mother, when a child comes to me, I am struggling to get that 100 to give them a meal. Will I really concentrate on giving them sanitary towel? The answer is total no. There was introduction of this way of supporting girls, during the former President Uhuru Kenyatta some times back. There was a program of giving sanitary towel to, primary school, the upper primary. But it's no longer there, working. And again, who said it's only the primary school that need them? I ought to believe, if my panelists can agree with me, that actually the secondary school level, they are the most needy cases. Why? Because this student that you're giving, at least they're reporting back, they are you are as a parent, you're protecting your child who is in a primary level. But in a secondary, you are a little bit reluctant because you think this child is a bit now more mature and responsible. But that is where now the menace starts. Because the moment you have shown this girl that you're a bit mature, then if mom showed me that I'm a bit mature and my period has started, then the only thing I'll do. My colleague has said that the motorbike people are doing this. This is real. I have cases. The motorbike people have been reported That is where my girls from where I'm working from are trading themselves to these men, the Changa and the motorbike people. So personally, I'm doing it in Nairobi chapter, and I'm not doing it because I have money, Ibra. I am just speaking out. I'm going to churches, you know, I'm going to organization and telling them, guys, I don't have money to do this, but I need support. But my aim goal is, can we have a discussion about this? Yes.
And it is interesting when you say that it is transactional sex that they would engage so that they get sanitary towels. And that is at this point, because I would want to listen to another bite from a principal of that particular school that we highlighted. There are those who are engaging not just to get sanitary towels, but hopefully to get pregnant so that it suspends their monthly cycle for a period. Never mind that they know at some point they will come to, you know, terminate the pregnancy. So even the kind of risks, Joyce, the kind of risks that these girls are facing, I am simply engaging so that I suspend my monthly period. But before we come to you, let's listen to what the principal of St. Thomas Aquinas had to say.
One very honest girl told me that to them, the challenge is that getting the sanitary towels to them is more expensive, and they prefer to suspend the cost by falling into pregnancy, because they biologically, once somebody is pregnant, it will take about a duration of 9 months before he gets into the cost.
Yeah, when you listen to such a claim by the principal of that school, because he says this is after an honest feedback from a girl who had fallen pregnant, what comes to your mind? Because these are children now who, it is already despicable that they would engage to get sanitary towels. Lakini sasa wana engage kususpend their monthly period. What does that say of our society?
Okay, for me, in my society there, Madhare, unapata msichana the time alianza period akuongeleshwa, ama labda alianza period akiwa shule. Wale shule unajua kuna vijana, kuna wasichana labda hawajafika stage ya period, wanaanza kumcheka. Yani msichana anakuwa nile trauma, mbona hivi nimefanya makosa gani? So you find msichana at the time anasema hili apate mimba, juu ajui difference ya kukuwa na monthly period na kukuwa na mimba. Yani una the best solution kwangu ni nipate mimba, kwa sababu ajakaa chini. Like unapata mtu ule mtu kama counselor anaweza mkalisha mwambie period it's normal, na pia kubeba mimba iko na majukumu. Ni sawa, umemeki decision ya kubeba mimba, but at time ndio unapata msichana labda amebeba mimba, amefika like 7 months, 8 months, and akutoa ile mimba. Juu nini? Mimba pia iko na mahitaji. Tunasema mtoto ni baraka, but deep down pia wewe mwenyewe inataka ujifanye ni ujitole sacrifice mingi. So for me na stand na sex, tunafaa kufunza watoto sex in a way that tusijudge. Unaona, hata shule funzo mtoto ku have good sex. Na hata ukimfunza ku have good sex, kwa sex, topic ya sex ni kubwa, it's a wide topic. Hapa ndo napata reproductive health, sexual reproductive health. So msichana wakati uko na yeye unamfunza, ni sawa, umemake decision, siwezi kukataza, but hii decision ukisha make after 9 months, what will happen? Period itaisha, haitaisha, still ita come back. Utakuwa na ile majukumu. Usisahau msichana ako na dream and make it. So for me, ningesema ama ningeomba pia government, vile kulikuwa nganeo mradi ya rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta, as for me at that time nilikuwa nasoma, pia mimi nilipata hizo sanitary za bure. Na singekuwa, unajua at a point msichana hata kama ako open, ana make a decision ndio afanye nini, azuie for that time, afikiri what about kesho kutwa hiki tutanifanyikiaje.
Umesema tufundishe watoto ku have good sex. I believe you mean safe sex.
Yeah.
Hiyo itamaanisha kwamba tumekubali that they are doing it.
Yeah.
Manake as is, I think the challenge inakuja kwamba we are not accepting that they are doing it.
Yeah.
And your opinion will be very unpopular, especially say from the clergy and the section of Kenyans. So what would you tell them? Because hii itakuwa ni transition kuambia clergy au kuambia wale ambao wanakataa that we look, it's happening. Let's agree that it's happening na tuwafundishe safe sex. How do we have sort of a one community approach or one society approach so that we are all on the same page?
Okay, for me, for now, as CII, we have forums. We have girls. We are open to our girls. Like you find, msichana anaweza kuja kuambie, hata like, watuko friends na wao, adona tuambia story personal za nyumbani. Unaona? But ikifika kwa community, wewe mzazi, mwalimu, unaona mtoto ni innocent. Hauwezi kubali. Hata mzazi, sasa wewe ndio ambie mamangu, Joyce and have sex. Mamangu atakwambia pana. My girl is virgin. But deep down, mama ataona tu ukifanya sex haijiandiki kwa mgongo, haijiandiki mahali yoyote ama hapa. Final product ni msichana ame have sex. Ajui ni nini family planning. As vile alisema, wengi wanasema hawana family za kuplan. And hapo ndio nimesema sex watoto wanafanya, especially uko Mathare. Wasichana wadogo wana have sex. Na waki have sex, ndio nimesema msichana at the time ana have sex, ndio tumesema good sex tuwafunze kwa shule. Unaambia ume have sex, labda amefanya for leisure, labda amefanya kama transactional sex. There is a way ujiprotect, usipate hiyo mimba, usipate pia hata hizo magonjwa. Ndio fanya nini? Dream yako iende. Ju once Joyce ame make decision, it's my decision. Hata mamangu anichape aje, it's my decision. Nitaendelea kufanya sex ama nitawacha.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nancy, wakati unasikia, or when you get to listen to the principal of that particular school say, look, they are suspending their monthly periods, that's why they are practicing intercourse. What do you think we should do to get our children out of that kind of thought?
What I think we need to do, number one, we need to normalize periods, that is the menstrual period. We have not normalized it. That is why it is still a shame in our communities, and girls feel that when they are getting their monthly periods, they're having that shame. Because for me, it is something that we need to start talking about on our tables. Fathers talking about it, mothers talking about it, and ensuring that our brothers in the house, because when we go outside in the school, it is our brothers that laugh at them. It is our girls that laugh at them. So one thing, we need to normalize periods so that we know that this is something, this is a call of nature. This is something that is not like the girls wants to have it, and they need to normalize it. Even if I stain my dress now, it should be very normal. It is not something that men should start looking at me as if I have committed a crime. So that is where we need to start from. Number two, we need sanitary. It is not a luxury. And one thing I always say, and I will say maybe as a call of action to the government, are we able to ensure that we have even the sanitary packed in the smallest package? You see, we even have Blue Band Kadogo. Are we not even able to have sanitary packs like the way they sell Pampers, even 2, even 1, so that if I'm not able to afford a whole packet of sanitary towel, I am able to afford the 2 today. Tomorrow, if my mother works and gets the 500 shillings or 200, can give me 20 shillings, I run to the shops. You look at times when the budgets are being read or any other thing, you realize that the prices of sanitary, of the commodities, keeps going. And again, when we talk about periods, it is not only about the sanitary, it is about the panties. These girls at times do not, because you can't put on sanitary if you don't have a good panty. So the sanitary or the periods that not only come with the sanitary, it is expensive. You must have a panty. Sure. You must have a soap, because even if you are using the reusable, I see that people who are already innovating and are coming up with reusable sanitary towels. And with that, you still have to clean yourself. You still need a soap. Yes, people have been talking about the way the sanitary towels was being distributed in the previous government. It was good, but it was also not good, because the distribution, where was it? It was in school. What happened during COVID? Did the period stop? The period was not stopping. Right now, the children were have closed school for 2 months. For example, if the sanitaries were being distributed at school, what happens within these 2 months? As the period stopped, now for a while, let us stop, we have drought, there is no water.
No, it still goes on.
It still goes on. we don't have water in this. I also work in Mathare, and in Mathare at times there is no water. If there is no water, do I go buy a jerry can of water for the family to use, or do I buy you water to shower? So you see, the period poverty makes parents see girls as a burden. So they'll rather get pregnant, and when you get pregnant, you are ready for child marriage, and then they sell you off for marriage.
Hold it there, because when we come back, I would want to pick your thoughts, and I'll start with Anne, this after this break. Because when we say let's face it and teach our children to practice safe sex, or even others are championing, let's put our children on contraceptives, then will we be treating or curing what the problem is? Because others would be saying that once these men who are responsible know that right now you can actually do anything with these children because they won't get pregnant, then we will have worsened the situation. That is something I would want to pick from you. But right now, let's take our second break here on AM Live. We continue with our discussion on poverty and teen mothers on the other end of the break. My name is Ibrahim Karanja.
It started like a dream 104 years ago, and with the right leadership, the right business model, the right standards, and international affiliation with FIA, AA has grown to support you with various mobility services. And it is growing, and now you need sunglasses, because the future of AA Kenya is too bright. AA Kenya, inspiring mobility.
On my dark marks, I've tried everything from A to Z, even vitamin C, but hardly any results. Nivea Lumina 630 works from day one, with visible results in just 2 weeks and 71% dark marks reduction in 12. Join the 1 million women already using the #1 Lumina 630 from Nivea.
You can now manage all your finances with one app. Link your bank cards and enjoy fast, safe, and convenient transactions no matter the bank or mobile money network you're on.
1, 2, 3, 4!
Tune in to NTV every weekend at 9 a.m. for Kids Adventures, the ultimate cartoon extravaganza. Don't miss the laughter, fun, and magic.
Selfish, 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 selfish.
Selfish, 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 hey.
And it's not just about entertainment, it's also about teaching valuable life lessons.
Let's practice sneezing into your elbow. Achoo! Yay! You did it!
I'm going to show you how to decorate a bottle using glitters.
Let's go.
NTV Kids in association with GoTV.
For non-stop festive fun, stay connected or reconnect to GoTV to keep busy brains entertained and learning this festive season.
Ooh, yes!
GoTV. Love it.
Na wewe unaitwa aje?
Mimi naitwa Shiro.
Shiro, wewe weka pesa zako wapi?
Pesa zangu naekanga hapa ndani. Sio hizi pesa sana
makubwa haya. Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation lina jukumu la kulinda pesa zako kwenye benki.
Welcome back to AM Live NTV. We are still discussing on our topic, poverty and teen pregnancies here. And my guests are really having a heated conversation, or sort of an insightful conversation about what is happening. And Anna was coming to you. And before I get your opinion, yesterday I again spoke to Jesse Chenge, who's my colleague who helped speak about that story that we watched. And he said that in this particular school, St. Thomas Aquinas Chesikaki, at one time, the students there demonstrated against the rising number of pregnancies amongst them, and they marched to the sub-county director of education's office. And according to Chenge, and this is information he got yesterday, which is very shocking, is that despite going and speaking out their issues, the government officer, the sub-county director of education, would then direct punishment for all children who took part in that demonstration. And then it begs the question, we want our children to be safe, we want our children to speak out, but when they get to speak out, we are telling them it was an indisciplined case for them to participate in a demonstration and order for punishment. What does it speak of us, the mature people? What does it speak of us who are holding government position and who are supposed to protect children?
You see, personally, I would say I think we are from 2 or 3 different generations. And the way, Ibra, you used to solve your things at your time and my time could be a bit different. You cannot say that you're going to punish a student who have seen that this is a problem we are having and they're speaking out and they're saying, hey, we need help, and then you punish them. I think as the county director, it is so unfortunate that he did that or she did that, because I don't know whether it's a he or she. But I think he was in a better position to listen and know what really is the problem. What are they really talking about? We need to give our student or our children a listening ear, because we are so busy chasing other things, chasing our dreams, and we have forgotten that we have a generation that we are raising. We become irresponsible parents, we become irresponsible society and community, and we are not living to the task. Because if we are, that can't be happening.
And is that why, Joyce, is that why then we get so many unreported cases? Because if you look at Bungoma's case, because this is what we have proved, look at Kandui, which is sort of the urban part of Bungoma that hosts Bungoma town. It has higher cases than the interior parts of Bungoma. I suppose that this is what also happens in counties like Nairobi. We have higher reported cases because we are nearer offices that we can report. But what happens in Marsabit? What happens in the farthest corner of Mandera, where they cannot get to offices? Is this kind of judgment why we have so many unreported cases?
For sure, I agree with you. So, hapa ni juu say at least those students walikuwa na idea ya kufika hapo. Unaona? At a time, like au nyako Marsabit, labda wana hiyo knowledge. Juu, labda maybe one of those girls ndio alisema, hapana, sisi ni madem, we have to take action. Na wakaamua wakaenda, si ndio? So unapata like hata kama hizi incidents zinafanyika haziko documented anywhere. So unapata like number iko chini, ni vitu zinafanyika kwa community but hazidocumentiwi anywhere. Even here in Nairobi County unaweza pata hizo nini zinafanywa, but mpaka uende station u report, you have to commit yourself. Yeah.
Nancy, you have heard what our colleagues are speaking about, and the fact that these cases are unreported. You went through the same. You were lucky to go back to school. You told me that you recently graduated with a master's degree. Yes. Congratulations. But we're now talking about, 1, contraceptives for our children, and 2, teaching them to have safe sex. That is acceptance that they are having sex. However, there are men who are responsible for getting our children pregnant even right now, even without that knowledge of contraceptive and safe sex. Won't we have opened an opportunity for this kind of backward thinking kind of men to take advantage of children, especially now knowing that they have contraceptives? I can have sex with a teen and they won't get pregnant, and it will not fall back on me because they have been protected. Won't we be giving them that window to continue with their kind of backward thinking and backward action?
I think we are giving them a window because, 1, we have normalized teen pregnancy, and most of the time the blame goes to the woman, the blame goes to the girl. I remember even when I was pregnant, nobody ever bothered if there was a man behind it. It was about me. It was about this girl, we have been seeing her doing this girl about this, so nobody cares. I want to speak about our referral pathway, or the referral system where we report. Because the reason as to why the perpetrators are walking scot-free, it is about, they are not prosecuted. Because if you are able to prosecute 1 or two people, the others will be able to see and know that this one is an offense and people need to be prosecuted. But our referral pathway, we don't have safe spaces where these young girls are able to report. How are they able to report? Is my father who has defiled me? Is my brother who has defiled me, my uncle? Because most of these defilements happen in a home setup, happens to the person you know, the power imbalance, my teacher, this person who pays my school fees. So these people do not know, where do I report? And then you see most of the time they report and people doubt them. They lose evidence. And then when it comes to issues of sexual intercourse, or rather you want to report, somebody starts asking you about the witness. Who does sex in the open? Who does sex where someone is seeing them? So it is very hard for these young people to prove that someone had already have sex with me. When it comes to maybe the sex had been done, the pregnancy is there, you are required to do a DNA. Who wants to go through all the processes? They do not know the processes of the courts. They do not know the processes of when I live here, where do I go next? What do I do next? So most of these people, they take advantage of that. And then because of poverty that we were talking about, most families are compromised. You make my child pregnant, and then you come to me and you tell me, drop this case, and I give you 3,000 shillings. I know of a case where people went and even agreed, and they did not even agree in a kangaroo court. They agreed in front of a chief, in a chief's camp. And you see the chief get their cut to protect the perpetrators. And this happens even in the counties, you know, like even spaces like Turkana or Marsabit in early marriages, the chiefs get their cut during the dowry payment. So it is our referral pathway that is very much rotten. So these people will still walk scot-free. We have the bails because our constitution gives their rights, the rights to the accused until they are proven guilty. They can be bailed, they can be able to get free at some point as the court process is going on. And because they believe, because they know their targets. The targets are children, most of them that are coming from families that are a bit poor. So they know that the parent will not be able to follow up. When they've been bailed out, they will come and start telling you, oh, unaona nimeachwa. You thought you were going somewhere with this case. And then you see the processes that our court time, the turnaround time of the cases that takes in court.
It takes
Imagine I was defiled in class 8, or I was defiled at 10 years old. My case wants to come when I'm 14 years. Who wants to associate themselves with the thing that happened when I was very young? I have forgotten about the evidence. I can't make the same statement. So that turnaround time makes people to forget. It also makes people to get tired because as a mother, most courts are in towns. For example, you're in Kisumu, you're coming from a rural, you use your own fare to go to court. Who wants to follow up? You have the mentions, you have the what. Nobody wants to follow up. So these perpetrators, because of our system, so our system is not well. That is why they're walking out scot-free. The other thing, our witness protection. Nobody wants to come in and say that I was able to see, I saw this, this is what happened, because people fear retaliation back at home. This is our father, this is the breadwinner. So if I go and be a witness, nitatolewa kwa indoa.
And it's interesting, Nancy, that you're pointing out that matters following the system to get justice. You're suggesting that it happens to the downtrodden. But perhaps to bring you up to speed, just recently there was a defilement case in court involving 2 senior state officers. One state officer who was accused of having defiled the child of another senior state officer, who I wouldn't want to mention their names. But you'd find, well, these are people of means. The person whose child was defiled, allegedly defiled, is a person of means. The court still threw out that case saying there are no witnesses. So if it affects such people holding such powerful positions in the society, what happens to a common man?
You see, bro, what I will say is this. As a nation, we have decided, because I will say this is a decision, to normalize teenage rape cases and teenage pregnancy. And we have decided not to protect our children anymore. And that is why I've said that we are having a very rotten generation. The human nature has left us. And I will talk about Kenyans, because really, when you go and report a case and you decide this is a child we're talking about, and you decide not to defend this child, you're forgetting that you're once a child, or you will be either a father, a mother, or a grandmother. And if you don't become responsible to protect them, be it it's not your child, tomorrow you'll find yourself there. So it will be a cycle, and it is very important that we introduce, or we have a system that will be able to protect our teens. Because this norm of, stigmatizing that my child has been raped, I don't want to bring it into the limelight, because maybe she will suffer the shame. The society will always be able to say that this was the child that so-and-so was raped. And I think this is the reason why many cases are not being reported. If we can have a system that is, workable, a system that is protecting our teens even when they go and, report the cases, a system that is embracing these children and even working with them through that stigmatization moment, being able to give them a way that even they can be given counseling. Some of them ought, because they can't take it, to kill themselves. We have kids who are killing themselves because they cannot fathom what has happened to them. Or maybe many live with bitterness throughout their whole life. Why? I was defiled. The person who was supposed to protect me was my mother or my father, and they didn't do that. When we went to the system to seek the justice, it didn't work. My mother decided to corrupt it. Why? I will never trust my mother again with anything. And
in fact, I'm coming back to you. It reminds me of a case that was being brought to my attention yesterday, where in the areas of Kikuyu, yesterday, a mother, went through mob justice. She was eventually rescued by police, but she was caught going to throw away a 3-day-old child, the daughter's child, so going to throw away a 3-day-old grandchild. And the story is told that this mother would go, this particular child had gotten pregnant earlier and aborted aborted the pregnancy at 6 months. So right now, with a second pregnancy, the child is born, and it is the grandmother who's taking the child to go throw away a 3-day-old child. When you hear of such coming from a parent, because there was already the first instance, it shouldn't have ended in a termination of pregnancy, but the pregnancy was terminated. Secondly, the child falls pregnant again, and the mother decides, I'm going to throw away this little baby.
That is why I'm saying that the human nature left us, Ibra. It's left us because you can imagine this is a parent, this is a guardian who is doing this. You're going to throw away the child just because you don't want that child. Maybe it's that child came in a way that you as a family did not want it. And it's really happening. You may think it's only your case, but yesterday, as we speak, yesterday tonight, I already texted and said that I need help. I don't want to disclose who I am, but I need help because I am pregnant. I don't want to, terminate my pregnancy, but I want a family that can be able to get this child and raise after I've given birth, because I don't want it. The question is this really then the best moment to talk about this and talk it in a way that we are not going to, I'm a religious person, I'm a gospel minister. So when she's talking about introducing sex, I can relate, being on the ground. But it's until when you are there, even as a religious person, you go and see what is happening on the ground, you will understand that it is no longer the time to live in ignorance, saying that we will not talk about sex, or when we talk about it, we are normalizing it. Oh no, Ibra. It is not about memorizing it. It is about, bringing it out to our children and telling them, hey, this and this is happening. And when you feel like you want to do this, you can abstain, yes. But if you feel you want to do this, then do A, B, C, D. But I'm not going to run away from it anymore. It is a reality. It's hitting me.
An interesting view that now that you're bringing out, you're a woman of the cloth.
Yes, I am.
That you are actually accepting that this should happen. Because most of the times when this happens, it is a clergy that is against it. Joyce, wakati ambapo unasikia kwamba mama kama huyu ambaye tumetaja, mtoto alipata ujauzito mara ya kwanza, akatoa huu ujauzito kwa mwezi wa 6. Huyu mama, baada ya kupata, because these were warning signs, I believe the mother ought to have spoken to the child about safe sex and perhaps even introduced the child to contraceptives. Amekaa Mtoto amepata ujauzito wa pili, amejifungua na siku ya 3 amechukua mtoto aenda kutupa. Ni mjukuu wake anaenda kutupa. Only luck that alipatwa na watu na kukawa na mob justice, lakini polisi wakafika wakamkamata. Wakati unasikia vitu kama hivi, ni vitu ambavyo vinafanyika mahali upo, na ni kipi ambacho kinakujia kwamba mzazi ambaye anafaa kulinda mtoto wake ndiye anampeleka kwa njia hii?
Okay, for me tunaweza sema kwa sasa hii community yenye iko, kama mimi personal Joyce Katheu, najaribu kuongea na wazazi, naenda kwa baraza, naomba ruhusa, naongelesha wazazi. The first thing nilisema, kukuwa mzazi openness na mtoto. As my colleague said, the time she got pregnant, akazaa, mamake akamwambia option ni ngapi? Ni 2, urudi shule upate mimba ama urudi shule usome. So mamake akumkalisha chini, amwambie mtu hivi ABCD. Mamake alimpea tu option ngapi? 2. So msichana, for me vile kesi inakuja, ni kama msichana the time alipata hii pregnancy alikuwa innocent, hakuwa anajua. But kama mzazi, kama dada, kama msamaria mwema, mama akujitolea kukalisha msichana chini, amwambie. Hata after that, inapen mali mimi natoka, vile amesema hii system yetu. Msichana labda alipata mimba, mtoto mwenye alizaliwa ni wa labda mtu mkubwa na cheo mali fulani. Alafu msichana alipoenda kwa hii system yetu akaripoti nini, tunasema kwa hii system yetu tuseme kama chief, kama nani au wakubwa, wakienda wanapewa tango. Unaona? Unapata msichana, yes alikuwa process hii kesi, but kama chief ashamkanyagia hivi, na namwambia ukienda mbele hii kesi hata kuna mali itaenda. So unapata mzazi wangu personal, kijana, tuseme ni kijana sahi, for example you Ibrahim, tumekuwa na hii kesi na bebe, utaambia mamangu sawa, mama Joyce hii kesi iishe, chief we kule yako ya macho, Joyce we utaki si ndio, weka mama yangu achukue 10,000. Once mamangu amechukua, don't forget mimi naishi nyumba mzazi, ndafanya nini? Nda slow down. So utapata hapa ndio mamangu anasemaje, si kesi tulishamaliza, so mtoto sifanye nini? Simuhitaji. Anything Ibrahim utasema, once ushape mamangu, like mamangu anaona hii kesi hata tukisonga sisi ni maskini, hakuna mtu atatutetea, ashamalizwa na 10,000. Wala anasahau nimepewa 10,000. Ndakuwa na trauma ya maisha, ndaishi kuteseka mimi mwenyewe. Hata ile nikikuwa kwa normal life, ile kitu itakuwa inanikujia, naanza kusema mbona hivi na hivi na hivi. And for sure to agree, kwa mzazi yoyote, mtu mwenye amezaa mtoto, it's either life ama dead. Hiyo kitu uchukua long time before ipotee. So mimi mzazi na blame, ni jukumu letu. Mzazi usijudge mtoto, mtoto ajui hivi, asifanye hivi. No matter unatoka kwa umaskini ama unatoka kwa utajiri, kuna process, ongea. Ukiona haiwezi make, kuna watu kunje wanasaidia watu kwa hizi kufanya hizi makesi, na at the end of the day mtapata mna win. But hii wazazi ati kitu imefanyika kidogo mnapewa tango inamaanisha something small. Hii kesi ishe ama mnaanza kutishua, mkienda mbele mtaama hii area. It's high time tuache hiyo maneno.
Nancy, there are children who would want to report, like Joyce is saying. There are children who would want to follow it up through the system, but their parents are against it. And you try to see that if I keep pushing it, then it will bring in differences between me and my parent, and I truly live in the house of my parent. So what happens to those children? Do we have open spaces as a country that we have provided that, you know what, even if you don't get this support from your parent, you can actually depend on government. Come to a government office and we push it through until you get justice and the person who is responsible is held accountable? Or because I'm looking at the risks, you don't want to weigh, so yes, I push on with the case, but then again I'll fall out with my mom. Where does it leave the children?
Yeah, it really leaves the children in a very, an imbalanced position. And one thing is not all children, yes, we have spaces. We have toll-free lines. We have 116 that is operated by the child line. It is a toll-free line. But where is this child going to get a phone to call? And it only happens because not all children are aware of such spaces. But children working in the government offices, they will walk there, and the way they will be treated it is not so easy. For example, the other thing is we also have the civil society organizations in the community. For example, the one that Joyce is in, and then Anne is running. They're the ones that we use as safe spaces because we have walk-in cases, walk-in spaces. So they're able to walk in and say, I have this issue. But it only happens where we are having these organizations. We are having places maybe in Turukana or where that even these organizations are not there. So these children are left, they do not have anywhere to report. Because when a child just goes to the police station have not been made so friendly for the children just to come in and report. So the government spaces, I don't think that we are having any friendly space where the children are able to, friendly or a safe space where they are able to report. But these other spaces, the toll-free line, it also requires somebody to help you. It also requires your somebody to give you a gadget. Yep.
At this point, then, I may ask to get your closing comment, which should really be a call to action. Members of Parliament have contemplated the idea of introducing contraceptives to children. They have contemplated the idea of actually teaching, proper sex education, because yes, we teach them about the reproductive system and all that, but we don't expose them to really what they need to know so they know how to practice safely. What would be your closing comment and call to action?
My closing comment is that I would want to tell people that when teenage pregnancy is there, it does not only affect the families. It affects everyone in that community, and at the end of the day, it affects us as a country. My call to action, one, I will want that people or even young people be part of the budget making process so that they're able to know. When we are making budgets of health, where is our commodities? Where is us as young people in this budget? Secondly, you realize that teenage people are getting pregnant. The girls and young women are getting pregnant. The government has come up with a policy. We have the return to school policy. And the return to school policy is very silent about the care of these young people. So yes, the government has opened up a space there, but who do I leave back with my child? Are they able to have a space, a crèche, a care crèche, where the young children are able to have dropping in their children? When it comes to devolution, that is the sharing of the national cake. It does not capture issues, education, primary and secondary education. So it really means matters education, it is not there. So my call to action is to the government to prioritize issues young people when they're doing their budgets, and also to ensure that parents are also aware of the referral pathway or any other thing that affects the lives of the children.
Thank you very much. Joyce, closing comment.
Okay, for me tunaweza ambia wazazi, sikiliza mtoto wako. Wewe ndio best friend wa mzazi wako. Mtoto wako. Hakuna vile mtu atatoka nje akuja kwa best friend. Kwanza tupende watoto wetu, tuwafunze safe space kabla tuwafunze huko shule, na tukue openly na wazazi. Sisi watoto na wazazi pia wakuwe na openly kwetu. Na tukifunza watoto tutaenda pazuri. Juu once mtoto kama ako na boyfriends kama wawili nani atakuja kwambia mzazi, utampea advice, umwambie hapana, hivi na hivi na hivi. Yeah.
Anne.
You know, Ibra, before I give my closing remark, let me take you back somewhere. Allow me kindly.
10 seconds.
We're talking about parents here and saying that they should protect their kids. But personally, I have a case of where a child was raped by the father when he was drunk, got pregnant, was infected with HIV because both parents was living with it. And then after that, the mother told the girl, if you go and report, forget I am your mother.
What?
Yes. So that girl, when I was addressing them, fainted, talked to me, opened up. It somehow traumatized me in a way. And it's exposed to me what is being hidden, what we are shying away from. So I would say, like they have said, let's create a safe place for our teens, our children outside there. And to the parents right now that our children are at home, let's be responsible parents. Be a person who is responsible for the children that you brought in this world. Let them enjoy the life that you brought them into this world to live. Let us not just give birth for the sake of giving birth. And even if it was, you know, in a bad way, or it was, you know, a rape case that happened, and you have decided to raise this child, be a responsible person. Let's be a responsible society. And to the government, as they set aside, you know, the budget for everything else, let them know that period, or a woman, it is like food. The way we eat every day, there is a girl somewhere every day has gotten into puberty stage, and they need sanitary towels. So we cannot shy away from it. Let's join, be responsible, support these young girls outside there. When we call for help, support us as who are doing this campaign in whichever way that you can be able to.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Anne Ndongu, the chairperson, Giving Hope Organization. We also had Joyce Gadeu, Programs Officer, Community Implementing Initiative, as well as Nancy Okoth, the Project Manager, Plan International, in discussing this very important conversation that we must not shy away from. And I think the next time we're having this conversation, we need to have men in this particular panel, as well as policymakers, members of parliament, to get to know then how we are going to effect the call to action that they are proposing. But that is AM Live. It has been an honor to host you for the past 2 hours, bringing you up to speed with everything happening in the country and also delving into our discussions. My name is Ibrahim Karanja. Your world is up next. Don't go too far.